All right, so last week I put up a status about T.I. and Tiny. Everybody was like all devastated about their breakup, and I was having a conversation with one of my girlfriends, shout out Pandora. It was like she was really upset that they were breaking up. And I wasn't too moved about it. Not that I didn't care, but it's like I kind of expected it, especially after he made his comment. And for those of you who don't know, he made a comment to the effect of marriage is a distraction from him, and he understands that he has to be the provider, the go-getter, and take care of everybody. In marriage, he won't be able to do the things that a husband should do, like being thoughtful and spending time and all that stuff. And we all know that that's just not what a husband is all about. You're supposed to be faithful and committed and all those other things. And how is it a distraction? But whatever. So she was upset, and I was kind of puzzled because I was like, why would somebody marry a man like T.I. anyway? You know what I'm saying? And so I put a status up, and the status said, I expect a certain type of man to cheat. Example, T.I. If you don't want to get cheated on, avoid the T.I.s of the world. And a lot of people agreed, but a lot of people disagreed too, or they didn't understand what that meant. So I'm here to clear that up and just, explain what that meant. Okay, so let's look at T.I. And when I say men like T.I., I don't mean light skin, short, and fine. I mean, like, let's look at his personality. Let's look at the characteristics of him. Let's look at his lifestyle. That's the main thing. Let's look at his lifestyle. What he talks about in his songs. And we're not all a representation. We all got two people. We have the representative and then who we really are. So I'm not trying to say that T.I. is out here, he's a bad person, but let's look at his characteristics of his personality or whatever. He talks about bad bitches. That's what he want to date. He don't want to date no bad bitches. He can't have no mediocre. And then a lot of his songs objectify women and degrade women. Okay, that's a whole nother video about objectification and degrading and all this stuff, and I'm not qualified for that conversation. But so this is what he talks about, right? Okay, so how could you possibly expect a man that talks like that and spews these type of things to want to settle down and want to be with only one woman? Because supposedly they're breaking up because he cheated. Now we all know, well, I'll get to that in a minute, but anyway, supposedly he cheated. And so what did you expect? Did you expect T.I. to be like a real husband that comes home and does all these things that regular husbands do when they're not, a husband that doesn't have to tour and be on the road and be around women, just throwing it at them 24/7? So my girlfriend said to me, she said, Jahan, like, what about accountability? And I said, you're right. So I guess the way I was looking, she was like, you're not holding these men accountable when you're saying you're a certain type of man, you don't have to be faithful. And I'm not saying you don't have to be faithful, but I don't expect you to be faithful. Like, you're on the road, you have women throwing it at you, all types of women, all different races of women. You're around the world. You get to see so many different types of women. I don't expect you to be faithful. I'm sorry. And she was like, he's supposed to be faithful. Yes, he is supposed to be faithful, but what's the chances that he will be? Right? Okay. So then another friend, shout out to James, he came up there and he was like, Tiny knew what she was getting herself into. And you can't expect somebody to change. And I totally agree with that. Like, Tiny, you knew who you were marrying before y'all got married. Like, he did you dirty. Everybody know you to be the ride or die chick. You put up whatever tip talk about or whatever he do, you put up with it. So when y'all decided to get married, I don't know what Tiny thought was going to change. And I know I have some people like, well, people can change and things like that. I feel like there's certain things that you just can't. Like, it's not like he gave up that life. He said, I'm gonna change, but he's still doing the same shit. You have them same temptations. So I feel like, Tiny, you knew what you were getting yourself into. So shut up and go buy another bag and some shoes. And I know that sounds harsh, but that's how I looked at it. It was like, it's Clifford. You have married Clifford. No, see, she wanted Clifford to come out, but she was still involved with Tip. So Clifford never showed up. So I just feel like, Tiny, you expected this. So I sort of kind of feel bad because nobody deserves to be cheated on. Of course not. I'm not condoning anything that he did. But I kind of feel like as women, we have to take responsibility of choosing better partners. So if there are certain things that you want, a certain way you want to live your life, a Tip ain't gonna get it for you. And that's just what it is. All I know is that when I dated the T.I.s of the world, like, you know, living a certain lifestyle and fine and had all types of women coming after him, it didn't work. It wasn't conducive to the type of life that I was trying to live. So no more Tips for me. But I also know women who are involved with, you know, T.I. type men, and they seem to be happy. Of course, I'll never know the inner workings of their relationship, but you know, I don't know. So that's my whole thing. If you want a certain type of man, or if you want a certain type of relationship, when we talking about committed relationship, stay away from the Tips, and we can go ahead and throw Carmelo up in there anyway. But that's another story, because I remember when Lala and Carmelo first got married or got engaged or whatever it was, and all the blogs were talking about she made him marry her. Like she begged and begged and begged, and he finally did or whatever. So I don't know. But yeah, so just stay away from the Tips of the world, and I think you'll be able to have successful relationships. So I'm sure you're gonna give me your thoughts on this. I'm willing to hear. I have some wine, so I'm more inclined to hear what you have to say rather than just cutting you off if you don't agree with me. So yeah, tell me what you think. Should we hold these men accountable? Like, no, you said that you want to be married and you're gonna uphold these vows, or is it just don't be dating these Tips of the world? Make better choices, ladies.